In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can use C++ functions in the Witty library. In case you haven't noticed, the programs we've been creating so far have been in functions. If you look at the main, that is a function. If you look at the create application that we've been writing all our code in, that is a function. So functions are nothing new to us. We're just going to actually create our own function using C++. So again, what I'm going to do is change our header for our Witty label to Witty text. And we're going to get rid of the label. And what we need to do is we're going to create our own function, and it's going to be called say hello. And a function basically needs a return type, a name, and any parameters. If there might not be any, there might be one, there might be two, three, but we need to actually add any parameters that are relevant to our application. So in this case, our application is going to have a return type of void. The name of the function is going to be called say hello, and we're going to pass in a parameter, which is a pointer, to the Witty application object, because we need access to that to be able to display the values onto the screen. And as you can see from this function, you can see we don't have a name for the variable. When you create a function in a C++ program, especially when you're doing it in your source file, you declare it at the top of the file, and this is what is called the prototype. So if it's a prototype, you don't need to actually add everything. So if you have multiple arguments, you don't actually have to name the arguments until you actually implement the actual function. And then down here, we're going to do the same thing. But this time we're going to actually name the variable. And you can name that variable anything you want to name it. It does not have to be called app. But the reason I call it app is because we're so I'm used to using that name. It is not the same thing in the function as what is being used up here, but this is going to be passed into it, as you'll see. So all we want this function to do is just print the words say hello onto the browser screen. So we have to add a Witty text to our widget hierarchy and just give it the value of say hello. As you can see, we just access the Witty container root that is in the Witty application object, and we added a widget, in this case Witty text, and display the words say hello onto the browser screen. Okay, now we need to actually invoke the function or call the function. So what we're going to do, before I even call it, we're going to set the title of the application to functions. And now we're going to call the function. So we write out the function, and then we're going to pass in the Witty application. And as you can see, I needed that to be able to access the application root so we could display the value onto the screen. And that is basically it for a simple function in C++ and using this library. So we run CMake, we compile the program. I need to close this. I had a server running. Alright, and then we run the program. Again, Windows prompts us to add the program to the firewall. We add it. We run the server. Well, I ran it twice. And then bring up our browser window and do a refresh. And as you can see, we print off the values of say hello. Just to extend this a little bit further, do a copy and a paste. You can have the same function with the same name. The only thing you would have to do is, and this is called, well, not actually overriding, but you're overloading the function. but it has to have you can either have a different return type or the parameters have to be different. So in this case, I'm just going to add an integer. And what I might do is do it by reference, make it const. But if you do it by reference, we're not actually changing the value here. And we don't want to actually pass it by value. You don't have to do that, but I just prefer to do that. And what I'm going to do here is make it a const, make an integer, say count. I'm going to create a for loop, have an index, and that's why I made count a const reference, because we're not changing the value or anything. And all we want to do is just print this value out this many times. So it'll just loop through this for statement after we pass in our count variable, and it'll print it that many times. So if we get rid of this and just say 5, I'm going to print it out 5 times. So if we compile this, okay, and let's start the server, and if you run it, as you can see, it did say hello 5 times. Actually, let's try it once more. And what I want to do is I'm going to put a break tag in here. You could either do a break tag in the text, or you could do a witty break. This way, in this instance, I'm just going to do a string. Make it look a little bit clearer. All right, we're going to run the server. And there you go. It printed off, say hello, it looks a little bit better. We can read it a little bit better. And that is it for this tutorial. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.